Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. As I was speaking in my previous videos about the very understanding about the aspects of Saptaswaras and their sthanas, Ekaswara, Dviswara, Triswara, Chaturaswara, Panchamaswara, Shashtamaswara, Saptamaswara, Ashtamaswara, Navamaswara, Dashamaswara, Ekadashamaswara, Dwadashamaswara, respectively, and their impact on the human body from the view of Parapashyanti Vaikhari Rupa. Now, let's take the subject much further. Before even getting into the subject, let me share certain Swarasthanas which would be useful for one and all. Sa, pa, sa, re, ga, ma, da, ni, sa, pa, ma, re, dha, ma, pa, ma, gha, gha, ni. If we practice these for 10 times in a day, right? Any time, any given point of time, that intuition part which I was talking about, right? Getting into the stage of Meru and Mahameru, it will be really useful. But this is only for the one who has mastered Ekaswara, Dviswara, Triswara, Chaturaswara, Panchamaswara, Shashtaswara. Because these energy levels have the highest level. The reason for going to that Meru and Mahameru is understanding that spiritual confluence. In the sense, like it would be more of use for the one who is thinking of, creating that, having that vision, highest level of intuition, ladies and gentlemen. And this is more prevalent, and this has been clearly expressed in Dikshitar and Shyama Shastri's compositions, which one needs to understand from the Srividya point of view. Other is Ni, Sa, Re, Sa, Ni, Sa, Re, Sa, Ni, Sa, Re, Sa, Ni, Sa, Re, Sa, Ni, Sa, Re, Sa. If you practice these for 12 times, specifically for the, a pregnant woman or pregnant lady, right? What happens is this gives that immunity and that highest level of intelligence for the kid who is growing up in the mother's womb, ladies and gentlemen. And even for the one male counterpart, if he practices, right, he will get those supernatural powers which will help him to get those positive energy levels, and which will in return help the family to have harmonious family. That kid having positive attitude, positive thinking process, positive thought process, and whatnot, everything what a pure mind should have. Sa, pa, sa, ni, dha, ni, ma, da, re, sa, ma, dha, sa, re, ga, re, sa, ma. These are the swaras. If we practice for 10 to 20 times in a day, specifically if male and female, during the pregnancy period of 9 months period, right? You will have both the male and female who will be future father and mother, and the kid who will be growing up will have the proper understanding, and he or she, whoever is born, Anu or Parmanu, will be the one benefactor for the human existence in a much positive way. He would be more like, being the key person, or one who would be a guide from the philosopher's point of view, or whatever it is. He or she will be playing a major role. This is the power. Now, if we see at strong strong da, na, na. If we practice this, right? Sa, dha, ni, dha, pa, dha, da, dha, dha, dha. What happens is, this mind will have that ability to understand. By the way, this is also an exercise for a dancer or the classical musician, classical dancer, to understand Bindu Kala, Nada Bindu Kala, as I was explaining in my previous videos. And these are the levels where this would be like, helping yourself. Adhyaya, Swadhyaya. Kind of Adhyaya, Swadhyaya. Now, if we etymologically see Swadhyaya, Sakara, Vakara, Akara, Dhakara, Yakara, Akara, Yakara. Swadhyaya, Adhyaya, Akara, Dhakara, Akara, Yakara, Akara, Yakara. So, see, these are the sounds. However, these have direct relationship to Para Pashyanti Vaikari Rupa, which I will be explaining you how exactly it works. If we see from the Nada Bindu Kala point of view, strong, all strong, okay, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, da, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, da, gha, ga, ni, sa, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, da. If these are practiced for 20 times in a day, believe me, he or she would have the capability of getting to the highest level of understanding, ladies and gentlemen. Highest level of intellectual and intelligence level, wherein he or she can control himself or herself. So, if we really see the other part, dha, dha, ni, dha, dha, sa, dha, dha, re, and when you end with sa, what happens is, if we practice for 10 times, By the time he or she, if you are practicing, let's say at the age of maybe 4 or 10, 5 or 6 years or 10 years period, right? Casually, whatever it is, as a part of yoga. Okay. Here I am talking about the yoga drashta and yoga drushya to develop that intuition, yoga drashta and yoga drushya aspect. This these sounds really help us to get connected to that terrestrial world at a highest level. Pa, dha, ni, sa, re, dha, ni, sa, ma, dha, ni, sa, ma, dha, ni, sa, re, pa, ta, pa, na, dha, ni, sa, ga, re, sa, dha, ni, sa. If we practice for 20 times in a day, 20 times is enough. These energy levels would keep the body or the human body ever vigilant and agile. Agility will be more. Immunity also will be more. Specifically, these sounds, let's say like one will not have any opportunity to practice maybe till the age of 40 or 35 or maybe 35 after 35 years, after 40 years, right? Till 40 years. If these people, 40 years people start practicing these sounds, they will have that immunity power coming back again. It doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter over here. The point is, music does not have gender variant. As simple as that. Pa, dha, ni, sa, pa, dha, ni, sa, pa, dha, ni, sa, pa, dha, ni, sa. Again, this sounds, if we are practicing for 10 times in a day, believe me, he or she will have that immunity factor. Ga, pa, da, pa, da, pa, dha, ni, ga, pa, da, pa, dha, ni. These swaras, if we are practicing, it will give you peace of mind. Because here akara and nakara are coming into picture. Bijaksharas, akara and nakara play a key role, ladies and gentlemen. Sa, pa, da, pa, da, pa, dha, ni, sa, pa, da, pa, da, pa, dha, ni. Again, if these sounds are practiced, let's say his or her age is 45 or 50, and his or her age has crossed 50 plus, they get extra immunity out of this, ladies and gentlemen. Re, sa, 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 ni, 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 sa. This again, these sounds really help one and all to have that contemplation ever growing in the human mankind. Da sa da sa da sa da sa da sa da sa ma re 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 sa ni 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 re sa. These above combinations, if practiced, the humanoid will get those energy levels at a highest level, ladies and gentlemen, pertaining to the highest level. Now, see, sare gama padhani nida pama garesa. This is where Arohana and Avarohana is coming into picture. This is what is called Soham Hamsa Soham, which one needs to understand. And this is where, see, Yoga Drushya aspect, if we really look at, Ni da pa ma re ni da pa ma re ni da pa ma re ni da pa ma re. These lines, if we are practicing for 10 times in a day, you will get that yoga drashta aspect. Ga re sa ma sa re sa ga da ma sa ma re. If you are practicing for 10 times, this is the first step wherein it more or less talks about that yoga drashta aspect. Okay. Yoga drashta and yoga drushya, both combined. So now, this dha, ni, na, ha, hu, na, ni, dha, ma, da, pa, da, ma, da, pa, da, ma, da. If we see ma, da, subtler level, pa, da, subtler level, da, subtler level, ma, da, ma, da. If we are practicing, at a, you need to be like stressing upon strong. It has to be strong pronunciation. So if we are practicing this for 10 times, this is where actually this yoga maya and mahamaya aspect. Yoga maya here, only difference is avarohana and arohana aspect needs to be added. Sa, re, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, re, sa, re, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, re, sa. Strong ani, ning, da, pa, ma, Gha, Sa, Gha, Ma, Pa. Now, if we really see all of these sounds that I was talking about, it talks about Yoga Drashta, Yoga Drushya, Yoga Maya, Yoga Mahamaya. Now, why am I talking about Yoga Drashta, Yoga Drushya, Yoga Maya, Yoga Mahamaya over here? If we really see, human existence has to have a common understanding, right? Which is what talking about para pashyanti vaikhari rupa, which are means of communication as per Vedas and Upanishads. Point number one. Second, if we see this communication, there has to be communication, right? When this Prakriti or Purusha, when male and female is trying to get connected, right? Whether it is spiritual confluence, whether it is sexual intercourse, which is a natural action, whatever it is, this body needs to get connected, right? So here is where actually one needs to understand what is the process that happens here. That is oral transmission. First is you are orally doing that. Ni sa re sa sa ni sa re sa sa ni sa re sa sa. Okay. Now, in the oral transmission stage, what will happen is here you would be hearing from inside. From outside, what will happen is that memorization happens virtually in the mind at Sahasrara through Smriti and Shruti. Understand this. Smriti and Shruti are the two aspects which govern conceptualization of Vak Shuddhi. One should have heard, right? Now, this again gives rise to the development which is again at a four progressive levels. Para, which is unmanifested, which is a silent source again. Pashyanti, which is subtle, where we envision thoughts. And by the way, this is what happens at a psychology, psyche, psychosis, psychiatry, psychometry point of view, this human existence, ladies and gentlemen. And Madhyama, that mental development at a highest level, wherein that inaudible thoughts, in the sense you sow those seeds in your mind at a conscious level, and at subconscious level it starts growing, starting from Mooladhara to Agnya Chakra directly, and from Agnya Chakra to Sahasrara. Though, as per philosophy, these are the center points, but if you see logically, it happens like it was named. And this is what actually is the key inference or the key point or the key factor or key aspect of introducing Natya Shastra again by Natya Brahma and Natya Sutra Dhara from the viewpoint of understanding human existence. Anu and Parmanu is one part of it. Second part of it is this: psyche, psychology, psychosis, and psychiatry and psychometry, wherein you will understand the Daivika aspect. You know, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Mascharya aspect. You control your mind, you control your emotions, you control your whatnot, everything. However, I will explain that with Angikam Vachikam as to how exactly it happens in my next video. Now, Vaikhari is the state where the gross and the spoken world, this gross body, Sukshma Sharira, which is not permanent. It has these qualities developed. Parapashyanti Rupa, Vaikhari Rupa. And you are actually like trying to interconnect that Bindu, that spiritual confluence, wherein invoking, using the Saptaswaras, Saregama Padani, Nidapa Magaresa. Understand this. So, here again, if you really see, it would be like listening to Vedic hymns, prayers, and having those conversations from the Vedic point of view, like Ekoham Shivam, Aham Brahmasmi, Brahma Satyam Jagat Nitya, Brahmaiva Jivo Naparaha. ओम अस्य श्री शुद्ध शक्ति माला महामंत्रस्य उपस्थ इंद्रियादि वरुण आदित्य ऋषिः दैवी गायत्री छंदः सात्विक कक्कार भट्टारिक पीठस्थित श्रीमत् कामेश्वरांक निलया श्रीमत् कामेश्वरी देवता ओम ऐं ह्रीं श्रीं क्लीं सौः. So again, one needs to understand, here is where actually that debate kind of thing starts working upon, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, this debate that we do in our mind, whether it is he or she, is more or less, it is not a healthy debate that we do. We would not be knowing what is right and what is wrong. To understand this, one needs to like undergo like these steps, right? These Saptaswaras are the sources to get us connected. As I told you, they have Bijaksharas, Akara, Ukara, Makara, Akara, Ukara, again, which one needs to understand. Though I will be giving about the introduction about what you call Angikam and Vachikam, Shloka in my what you call notes, I will be explaining them in detail in the next video about the same. We just have an introduction there. See, again, one needs to understand Vedam, Vakara, Akara, Dakara, Akara, Makara. This Vedam is divided into 4 parts: Satyam, Rutam, Priyam, Hitam. Why are we doing this and why do we need to understand this? Means of communication or whatever it is. There has to be some meaning to it, right? This is what is called telepathy as per sciences or the scientists in the psychology which they speak about, wherein the mind reading starts happening from inner outer world. And this has cross reference to Antarmukha Samaradhya Bahirmukha Sudurlabha. So now this, if we really look at telepathy, telepathy is again of different types: latent, retrocognitive, precognitive, inst, uh, in, instinct, instinctual telepathy, emotive, superconscious, super subconscious, conscious, subconscious, semi-conscious, ultimate conscious. So telepathy, to have this process develop, one really needs to get to this point to understand this. This is where actually, like, one needs to understand, once if this process is followed, that's when you will be understanding to know the walk aspect, walk or speech aspect, which is again 4 types: supreme, visionary, mental, and spoken. Now, and this leads to the transcendental meditation or the Turiya Avastha state, as per Vedas and Upanishads. And this is where the seed of willpower, which is nothing but desire plus energy, develops. This is what one needs to understand. So, if these are what have been given already in Natya Shastra or Shastras, why are the research scholars or researchers or scientists really looking at creating or replacing it with the artificial intelligence? How they can do that? That is my question. And having done this, this does not stop here. Thus, these combinations of swaras, whatever that I was speaking about, enables the individual to get that nada aspect, nakara, akara, dakara, akara again. And thus, though for nada bindu aspect to touch, one should be adding ni, re, sa to all the combinations as stated. For nada bindu kala or kala, just one difference. A sound comes. So at a stronger level, as I said, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, da, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, da, ga, ni, sa, ni, dha, pa, ma, sa, ni, dha. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beauty of our Vedas and Upanishads. If one practices these swaras as stated at various levels, thus one gets introduced to that Bindu Kala or Kalado. So now, see, now again, as a part of note and disclaimer, please make sure you don't violate at any given point of time of not giving, not using these powers that are hidden which you get at positive level. Don't use for negative levels. Have that positive thinking at all times. And this yoga drashta, yoga drushya, yoga maya, yoga mahamaya, and that journey of time and space travel, which I always speak, and I will be speaking also in my videos, is all about understanding that yoga and that is some yoga. Yoga is not all about that asanas. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. It's that time and space travel which one needs to understand by and large. This part of journey is where that Purusha and Prakriti or male or female is that stage where he or she has created a place or a space in Nada Bindu Kala aspect. So think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Yoga from the viewpoint of Yoga Drashta, Yoga Drushya, Yoga Maya, and Yoga Mahamaya. That's a pretty common thing that one will be able to understand. As simple as that. Though, what are these combinations? Which gets us connected to that interterrestrial existence. Why should we getting connected? That is a question, right? So, to get those powers, this human existence has always been dependent on that terrestrial existence, where above the earthly existence. Because as our body has all the planets imbibed and inscribed in the body, 9 planets. And from the Vedic point of view also, the baby in the mother's womb does the time travel for 9 months. These 9 months which are there, right? These 9 months period, pregnancy period is that, time travel of 9 planets that a Prakriti does. Even Purusha also has those energy levels, ladies and gentlemen. That is the reason why I say sexual intercourse act is a divine act. Don't try to contaminate with, contaminated thought process. Don't protrude that. Keep it divine. Keep it divine. Let it be divine. So, thus I conclude this video with a positive note. Think about it as to why we need to understand all of this. In my next video, I will be explaining about Nada Bindu Kala and Kala further. Thus, I conclude this video. Stay blessed and have a real blissful life. May the Guru's grace be one and all. Have a nice day.